Welcome to another Helios Spotlight interview. I'm joined with Hernan Arber, an investor, developer, and founder in the cryptocurrency industry. Very much looking forward to this conversation, and there's a lot of stuff that we can cover, Hernan. What we've just agreed to try and do is focus this conversation for the new crypto investors. So if you're someone who isn't yet familiar with terms like launchpads, and staking mechanisms and even NFTs, if you've heard it and you're interested and you want to start to explore the different opportunities to buy and sell or trade or invest, then this is going to be an eye-opening interview with someone with a tremendous amount of experience. Along with myself, I got into the industry around 2017, so that's a year later than Hernan did himself. We've been through a lot of ups and downs and seen a lot of booms and busts and cycles and all sorts of things happening. So with that as the intro, where do we begin for the crypto newbie, the crypto investor? There's a lot of good and bad that they've got to start to navigate when looking for opportunities and tokens to invest in. What comes to mind? Maybe a few early experiences that you had, Hernan, or where should a newbie begin?
Well, first of all, it's important, as I think you mentioned. Hi, everyone. I think it's important to really appreciate the crypto space for all that it is, right? With the good and the bad. So as you mentioned, I think this is the most exciting space in terms of not only technology, but what the opportunities that it brings for our society. There is no place as fast-paced, more exciting, and I think revolutionary than blockchain and the crypto space. So the opportunities that come with it are of astronomical proportions. There's nothing like it anywhere else, at least in the technology space or in the investments spectrum. With that, because it's a very nascent space, there is a lot of place for false gamings, rug pulls, scams, and all that comes with it, right? So money attracts people, and it attracts all kinds of people, right? So a lot of people will come here to try to maximize the opportunity. Others want to maximize their own impact on society, and others, want to make a quick buck and generally get dumped in, and others are actually looking for malicious ways to game a system. I'm always amazed on how quickly very sophisticated algorithms and scripts are put in place whenever there's a very hyped NFT mint or an IDO or a project or a launch. There's an amazing army of very smart people ready to go, with a lot of coding skills, prepared to hack into any system, any inter-blockchain bridge, and that speaks about the risks of the system, but also speaks about the brain power that it's invested in this space.
Great. So you mentioned a few interesting terms there. Let's get you to define them. You mentioned rug pull. Maybe you can give some color and explain what that's about. And you mentioned NFT mint. It's different to a peppermint, I guess. So let's explain what NFT mint is. And then you also said IDO. Do you want to tackle describing those three things again, focusing on the newbie crypto investor?
All right. So let's go one by one. So a rug pull is when, in crypto terms, you get the rug pulled out of your feet. So, for example, when you are invested in a project and you see a token that it's getting very popular, number go up, and then eventually either the founders run away with the money, which is like kind of an exit scam, or they get hacked, or someone steals their private key and dumps all the tokens on the market, and then token goes like, boop, it suddenly drops to almost zero. That is what we generally know as a rug pull. but there are lots of rug pulls in the NFT space. For example, is you get a very hype mint with a lot of celebrities coming in and say, yeah, this is the next Bored Ape Yacht Club, which we can get to later on, but this is a big NFT project. Everyone chips in and mints their thing, and then after the mint, you know, there's no team, no one to speak about, the website is gone, and that's another type of rug pull, right? Which is we sold you a bunch of smokes and mirrors, and then we ran away with the money. So there are a lot of type of rug pulls. It's basically a word for a scam.
Okay.
When the other thing we mentioned is NFT mint, right? So very quickly for the new crypto newbie, NFT means non-fungible token. The thing you can compare it to is to a collectible item that is unique per se. So if I send you a Bitcoin and you send me a Bitcoin, we still both have one Bitcoin. There's the importance of the value of the currency or the Bitcoin we're holding. It's in the amount that we're holding. There's no difference if I send you Bitcoin number 1010 and you send me Bitcoin that was minted, you know, a week ago, number 19 million. Doesn't matter. What matters is the amount. That makes it fungible, right? If I give you $1 and you give me 4 quarters, we both have the same money. In NFTs, the number one mint and the last mint generally are more valuable. There are different rarities. Each token that is minted out of a contract, I'll get to what minted means, it has a different intrinsic value because it is in it of itself unique with unique properties. So minting basically means that you are interacting with the token contract that specifies the properties of this non-fungible token, and you are, you know, either some mints are free, some mints you have to pay some money, and you're interacting with it and say, hey, I want to produce one instance of this non-fungible token. And that contract can print up to, you know, the PFP, which is profile pictures. The classical NFT project is like 10,000 or less. So that has a limit of 10,000 tokens that can be minted. So when you go into an NFT mint, you put your Ethereum or your EOS or your cryptocurrency in, and in exchange, you are produced with one instance of this NFT. This non-fungible token is sent to your wallet, and you have it alongside your tokens on the same wallet, but as a different type of asset, which is a non-fungible asset. I hope it didn't get too technical, but
no, I think that's good. Like for the new crypto investors, it's a lot of detail that you start to absorb. You need to hear it explained several times. And it's the penny drops, you know, over a period of time. And there's still a tremendous amount that I'm sure you're learning, Hernan, and I'm learning every day, every week, and that I'm part of the industry. So if I'm trying to summarize very quickly what you've been explaining, is non-fungible is not readily exchangeable from one to another because it's unique. It has a uniqueness. So it might be, if it's a mint or a collection of, say, you mentioned 10,000 NFTs, each one of them are a little bit different somehow, which makes them unique. And that can then be transferred or traded.
And they might be the same in terms of the media file that they are pointing to, right? So they can be 1,000 of the same, okay, but their mint number is different. There's the first one, and then there's number 567, right? So people tend to value the first of the collection, the last of the collection, number 69 of the collection, number 420, you know, those kind of things that people make. It's a bit of a game theory. And then there is a whole website that, like Rarity Tools or Rarity Sniper, that calculate how rare or how unique is your NFT and make an algorithm that calculates the properties and how rare the properties are, and they calculate how, if your NFT is super rare or it's more common, right? So,
and that changes the perceived value of those particular NFTs, and then people will trade them. So in one collection, what is the kind of the price range that you might see in an NFT collection? If the lowest NFT might be like $10, and then the super rare NFT, how much could that go for compared to a $10 NFT?
it's so new that I couldn't even try to think of a range. There are some collections that have become essentially worthless. So you can, there are a few, the cost of the NFT is less than the transaction that costs to buy it. So that's where we are. Not in EOS, because EOS it's almost free, but in a lot of a lot of OpenSea collections have gone there. On the more popular collections, the amounts are wild, because some of the top rarest NFTs, there sometimes are unique. There sometimes are so unique that the buyer, the owner isn't even willing to sell it. So it's so sometimes they're not for sale. So the range is it's not you cannot even do any type of analysis there. So it's very disparaged. But what we used to denominate, what we used to denominate the more common, or the common NFTs, is where we could use the floor, which is the lowest price NFTs. So when you speak about a collection, you generally speak about what the floor price is. That means, what is the cheapest NFT element? How does that cost? And there are generally several that are around that range, which are the NFTs that people are trying to sell actively. So they constitute the floor of a collection.
Got it. Okay, so let's move on from NFTs, and we're going to come back to the NFT theme, I guess, later in the conversation. But let's just define IDO.
Mm-hmm. So IDO is an initial decentralized offering, initial decentralized exchange offering. So what we had in the big wave of 2017 was the ICO, which is initial coin offering, where projects were offering a tranche of their coins or their tokens in exchange for capital, or Ethereum or other platforms that they were launching their ICO with. Now that tended to fade away, and now it's kind of a curse word because of so many scams that the ICO brought with it. Of course, it brought some of the leading projects today, but those are the tip of the iceberg, and beneath it was a lot of money grabs. Now the IDOs, of course, there's a lot of that, but the thing that changed radically from 2017 to now is that the centralized exchanges like Binance, Huobi, back then it was also Bittrex, Bitfinex, they were essentially the gatekeepers of all the liquidity in crypto. So in order to do a launch, you had to have a deal with Binance or with KuCoin or with, right, to launch your token, because otherwise there was nowhere to trade it. Nowadays, with the DEXs, since you have Bancor and Uniswap and SushiSwap and PancakeSwap and ApeSwap, and we have NewDex and EOS and the DeFi box. What happens is that you now don't need you don't need a gatekeeper. All you need is liquidity. So you can launch any token onto the market as long as you provide enough amount of the tokens on one side, and Ethereum or EOS or dollar or US dollars or Binance or BUSD on the other side, and you make a pair which creates a liquidity for the exchange, and you launch it essentially independently. So that is why the IDO is what now is trending amongst new projects that want to raise capital.
Okay, so again, to kind of summarize, an IDO is a way to launch a new project token like an initial coin offering, but it's doing it without the centralized control of the the previous gatekeepers of liquidity. When we say liquidity, we mean cash flow. Is like how much money is going into a token ecosystem, how much is going out.
It's also access to the token. So where do you buy it? In 2017, if it was not on Binance, Bittrex, you could not get the token. Where would you get it? Now you can essentially, if you get 1,000 of these tokens, you can set up your own liquidity pool. You can, as a users provide liquidity, and there's a lot of this what we call yield farming, which we won't get into it right in this interview. But what it means is you can provide, you get a bunch of these tokens, and you put Ethereum on the other side, or EOS, and you create a liquidity pool for that trading pair, and you are rewarded to provide that liquidity with an APY, or a percentage of the rewards of the trading fees for that liquidity pool. That's how decentralized exchanges work.
Okay, great. So again, I'm going to keep pulling us back to the simple. Maybe we do an interview in the future where we go into like what's suitable for mid-level type crypto investors and traders. For now, I'm going to keep pulling us back to the real simplicity. So the IDO, it kind of sounds complicated. Are IDOs suitable and of interest to the super early stage crypto investors, Hernan?
Definitely. They should be on top of mind for the super early investors, because let's face it, the institutional investor that is coming into the space and the institutional grade investors that are now entering the space, they don't have the same risk appetite. Okay, if they're entering with billions of dollars, they don't want to, they don't want to plunge billions of dollars into a project that just started and they have an MVP. They're going to invest in institutional grade assets that have long track, and they have the stability that has been proven through time, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, like solid grade or blue chip crypto assets. They're not going to participate in IDOs. Now, if you're entering the space and you have just a couple, a few $1,000s to participate in, you're not looking to make a 3x on your money on Bitcoin. It's not gonna impact your life. You have to be much more actively searching for these unique opportunities, and when you can spot a starting team that is just launching, and you have to participate on the launchpad with, maybe we can segue to that, and you want to put that 50, 100, $200 into that IDO, because those tokens can end up making 100x or 200x. Why? Because generally those ICOs start at a very low market cap.
Okay, so again, trying to reiterate in really simple language and then progress the conversation. So you mentioned a 3x there. If a newbie buys Bitcoin today, they might 3x, they might 3 times their money over, we don't know how long that might be. And I should probably jump in with the caveat that in no way is this anything here meant as investment advice. This is educational purposes only. You make all of your own decisions. Let's get that out of the way. So Bitcoin might 3x from where it's at now. It's something like $40,000 or $45,000 at the time of this recording. You might see Bitcoin shoot past $100,000. Maybe it'll take 6 months or a year, or we don't know. But if it's gone from around 50,000 to 100,000, you've doubled your money. It sounds like what you're saying is that IDOs, or new token offerings, give a much bigger potential opportunity for gain. And that's clear from the history of token launches. You've also mentioned, and how much.
And with that potential comes the risk, right? It's also important to mention the high risk endeavor that you're entering to, because it's a project that you don't know where to, you need to do your research very well. You have to be aware of that a large part of the liquidity is most likely on the hands of early investors, early whales, VCs and such, and you need to know how that token is being distributed, so that you know that you're investing in a solid team at an attractive offering, and you're not just becoming, exit liquidity for those early investors.
So exit liquidity, again, is like you're saying that the early investors, they buy a big chunk of the tokens, and then they sell it when the price shoots up after the token has launched. Those early investors start to sell their token to capture profit, while the newbies are buying the token at a higher price, and eventually the market runs out of buyers. And so the people who are still selling, they continue to sell and chasing the buyers who are becoming fewer and fewer and fewer until there's no buyers left and the price has dropped down to a ridiculously small amount. This is the concept, right?
In the peak of the ICOs, we saw some tokens, I don't want to get into specific names because I don't want to burn any projects or VCs or people in the space, but we saw some projects that launched with an almost $2 billion market cap, fully diluted, right after the launch. Like the project just launched, they're promising to do this brand new decentralized, whatever, video streaming platform and become the decentralized YouTube, but essentially they're a promise. And their market cap is already shooting up to $2 billion with no product out there, nothing proven. That is what we call exit liquidity. Why? Because the VCs are early investors that have maybe 20% of the token. Maybe they're only vested 10 or 20% of that. That is still, around, that is still almost $100 million worth of liquidity that they can just cash out part of their investment at a 100 to 100x. So for them, it's a no-brainer to sell any token they get. For the newbie that is not aware of how this dynamic works, or a lot of people don't understand market cap. So for the newbies, market cap is essentially the amount of tokens in circulation times the price, right? So Bitcoin has the largest market cap, not because it has the largest price. In one point in time, I think YFI, Yearn Finance, had a higher price than Bitcoin. Doesn't make it a higher market cap because there are only 30,000 of those coins, not 21 million. So that's what market cap means. So you have to take those things into consideration when participating in IDOs. So if you're early on, or you're entering a good potential upside opportunity, or you are becoming that, hyped up, oh yes, this is going to the moon liquidity, when it's actually, you're providing that buying pressure for those early investors.
Gotcha. Okay, so there's a big opportunity mixed with big risk, because projects and investors, they can be, if you're buying a token, it means that someone is selling a token. Exactly. Right? It's either the project itself, and therefore they're taking your money and they're giving you a token, or it's a previous investor, someone who bought the token previously, or earned the token, or was rewarded the token for being an advisor to a project, or a developer of a project, and they are now selling their token to you. So you're buying something that you think will go up in price, and they're cashing out to take some profit, or to take some income. And they may even be thinking, well, I don't care if the price goes up or down, but as the buyer have to understand that you're buying from someone who is selling. And so that's what creates the supply and the demand, the market pressures. And therefore we see the token price charts, just like the stock market. The price of stocks go up and down on a daily basis, right? So let's transition a little bit to, where do people find these IDOs, that these these decentralized token offerings? Where do they hang out? Where can people get visibility of these opportunities? How do they start to assess what we've been talking about in terms of the team, or a rug pull, or a scam, or the project viability, or the value, the market cap, and what it's going to become? How do they start to approach these things?
So essentially, there are some. We can start with the idea of the launchpads started early on with the exchanges like Binance and KuCoin. So they have their own launchpads. Very famous projects that launched there, for example, Matic, Polygon. Polygon was part of the Binance launchpad. So if you had Binance tokens staked, you were allowed to purchase some of the Matic tokens early on before they launched onto the market. Now, that idea or that kind of launchpad, exchange-focused launchpad went out the moment that decentralized exchanges and independent liquidity was enabled. That gave birth to a lot of decentralized launchpads or launchpads that are outside these exchanges, and all they are offering is that initial amount of tokens from the project. Now, generally, what a good launchpad does is they want to, first of all, you want to value, you want to assess the projects, and you want to do the due diligence on them. So you can, as a launchpad, you can provide kind of a seal of quality that is telling to your community, to your investors, hey, listen, we have handpicked this project because we believe in their potential, and this is what we're launching. So it kind of saves a bit of the research and work that needs to be putting into any token sale that's going on. That's first of all. The other thing is, if you want to kind of promote a long-term investing community, you can design some incentive mechanisms. That is what the tokens or launchpad tokens are for, right? Because you're saying, hey, listen, not everyone wants to buy into this IDO, but we're not just going to let anyone in. We want to allow the ones that are committed with our launchpad or our project in the longer term. So you need to be staking some of our launchpad tokens in order to get an allocation into this IDO. Because of the demand for those initial token sales, you know, those launchpads have different systems in place to kind of, you know, tier or level in the investors that can participate into this pre-sales.
Okay, so yeah, so so you mentioned launch pads. These are places where people go to find IDO opportunities. They're like listings of upcoming IDOs, and they'll give links to the project website and some statistics of description of the project, some kind of rating, and because of that experience that you've had seeing so many rug pulls and scams and looking at the different opportunities across different types of blockchain platforms, right? Ethereum and Solana and all of the different platforms that can have launchpads. You're bringing a launchpad to the EOS.io community specifically for EOS. Maybe we should get into, or could get into, the revival of the EOS chain and the community and the history. But again, maybe we'll save that for the mid-level investors for another conversation in due course. For now, what should the newbies understand about EOS, in a nutshell, and what are the features that you're building into the launchpad that you're working on that are a benefit to investors?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's split it in two, which I think you're basically asking, so why EOS? Why now, right? Well, what's interesting about EOS now? And the other question is, what are we building in EOS Starter that could, attract new investors into the EOS.io ecosystem, right? We're right now launching on EOS. We want to expand to all the EOS.io chain and offer token launchpads and token sales there. So essentially, EOS has, before we get into the drama, the EOS drama, let's explain the basics of EOS. So EOS is one of the first, what we call layer one blockchain, which means a blockchain that you can run smart contracts on and that you can develop decentralized applications on top of, right? So Bitcoin has the application of money. You send Bitcoin, you receive Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the best at that. That's why it's number one in market cap, and that's what it does. You know, it's money, digital money. On Ethereum introduced the concept of smart contracts. So you can program what you're sending. You can put, you know, if-else conditions on the whole transactional process so that you can, you know, decentralize stuff and do away with some middleman that is verifying if you're putting money in an escrow, right? And that money's in the escrow until you, Gav, provide me with the services that we agreed you'll pay me to. We can program that and eliminate that need for a third-party trusted escrow, right? That is essentially what smart contracts means, and that creates a whole new gamma of applications like DeFi, you know, decentralized finance, and basically decentralized everything, right? I think it was one of the slogans of EOS once. So what EOS does is it introduces a brand new consensus mechanism called delegated proof of stake, which we won't enter into the details right now. But what it does is it allows for a high throughput network and a parallel interaction for those smart contracts, right? For in Ethereum, each block needs to process those transactions on a serial basis. So if you have a very popular NFT mint or a token sale that's running on Ethereum, the network is clogged, right? Because it's running all in the same Ethereum network, right? Whereas in EOS, you are the innovation that Dan Larimer introduced with EOS is that, listen, the tokens allow the owner for resources, right? What EOS entitles you to is resources in the network. So as long as you have the CPU network and RAM, which is the storage space you need to operate, you can run your application with no independently of anything that's happening in the network. So that allows for essentially thousands and thousands of transactions per second. And if you take into consideration all the EOSIO chains, like Wax and Ultra and Telos and Proton and FIO and all those chains that are running at thousands and tens of thousands of transactions per second, and you have some IBC mechanism, which is the golden, you know, the golden goose or the holy grail that we've been chasing for 3 years, then you get those networks running in parallel that essentially drives you to that millions of transactions per second that was promised initially.
Okay, good. So again, summing it up, EOS chain is built using EOSIO software. Out of that software is a bunch of other chains that are becoming very popular at the moment, like you mentioned, Telos, Ultra, Wax, etc. Wax, in fact, I think currently has more transactions happening through their blockchain than all of the other blockchains combined. I think I'm right in
they
that
completely took over. If you want to, I can share the screen. So Wax right now has the lion's share of the action in the blockchain. Essentially 52.2%, I'm watching right now, Blocktivity, of the transactions on the blockchain, on any blockchain, happen on Wax. Next up is Xlm Hive, which is all, well, it was an older project pre-Steam, and EOS was there. EOS was running almost at one point up to more than 80% of the transactions in the blockchain.
Okay, so again, keeping it for the crypto newbies, and we'll do another session for the mid-level people later, another time. But EOS itself, or the EOSIO software, that has led to the likes of Wax itself is undergoing new feature development, right? So it's going to be, it's fast now, and it's going to be even faster to confirm transactions and all sorts of stuff that we don't need to get into for the newbies today. But you are building a launchpad. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's actually going to be the first, the first and only launchpad, at least for the time being, until there's the ecosystem grows, and then you get more launchpads potentially. But you're building a launchpad for the EOS blockchain itself initially, and then you have intention to expand that out to the other chains, as we've mentioned, the likes of Telos, Ultra, Wax, Proton, etc. So give us a little bit of idea from the newbie perspective. What is the experience they can expect to have when they come to EOS Starter to find their IDO opportunities?
Well, I do have to correct you there because there is a launchpad on Telos called T-Starter, and they've recently, I think they've expanded onto both EOS and Wax, so they're already kind of ahead in terms of they're already kind of have the smart contract that does the token sales. We aspire to be the premier EOS IDO launchpad, right? So what we want to provide is this kind of community powered a stamp of approval of projects that are launching, and they are, you know, really promising and have a huge potential in the community. So we want to basically do the launchpad experience right. So what is EOS Starter? So we're doing a community-powered incubator that for projects that are starting out, and a gamified launchpad. So I'll explain how we gamify the launchpad. So there is, of course, the typical side of the launchpad, which is, you know, there's a TART token, which you need to hold and stake in order to get allocations into the token sales. But what we've done in parallel is we have done this. You see the cute little guy at my, I guess, right or left, depending on how the screen is showing. He's Mr. Pop-Tart. So what we've done is we've created this narrative of Master Tartar, which who is creating a world of abundance by creating delicious tarts and tartiers that are, you know, super delicious, and he's living in this abundant world, and they are up against the evil Dr. Fiat and his evil mini bankers who want to basically eat all the cake and leave us strong, you know, fighting for crumbles. So that's kind of the story behind what we're building for a game that is right now based on Genesis NFTs, which are the Tartiers, which was up until now the largest NFT sale on EOS. So that's also interesting on Atomic Hub. And now we're doing a new bakery game, which is a card collectible game with people can get the cards. They can blend them into a recipe, and they will put those cards, which are ingredients of a tart, like, you know, delicious dough, and we have some special elements like, you know, spicy tart crust and tasty lemons, and we have all these kind of ingredients which you blend into a recipe, right? And you get these NFTs, and you essentially burn them or you bake them into a tart, and out comes a tart, which is a blended NFT. And with that NFT, you will stake it, and you'll be earning daily TART token rewards for just holding those NFTs. And those TART tokens will essentially be give you allocations into those IDOs. So for people that are interested into getting into new EOS projects, they can participate in this kind of collectible game, and also earn tokens, participate in IDOs, and kind of be part of this growing ecosystem while at it.
So you're allowing people to mint NFTs. Again, correct me where I get it wrong, but minting NFTs through a game that you're providing that itself earns them financial rewards, and it allows them to participate in IDO projects that are launching through the launchpad, where you are actually rating and filtering and selecting the projects that can participate on the launchpad. So your users can mint NFTs that are tradable, that have a value potentially, that earn them financial rewards, and give them access to these filtered IDO opportunities. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I'd have to say it would be financial rewards, assuming that the TAR token will have a value in the market. So that is not something that I'm saying right now. As you said initially, this is not financial advice. We cannot state that this will have value, but essentially they are being incentivized by daily rewards in the form of the TAR tokens, which is our core token of the community of EOS Starter, and those tokens allow them to participate in this pre-sales, right? So according to we have some special calculations according to the amount of TARts that you're holding and the TAR tiers, which is these guys and the other TAR tiers, that sums up and that gives you a specific percentage of the tokens of the project that you can purchase on the token sale.
Okay, good. So what's available now that people can access? Is the website well developed? Can they go and check it out? What can they actually do so far?
So right now we have the website where we launched the Genesis sale. The website very soon will turn into the bakery game where people will be able to get their card packs. They will be able to open the packs. They'll be able to bake their cakes, and they'll be able to stake those NFTs to start claiming those rewards. And then after that, that same website, eostarter.org, is going to present the token sales that we're going to run on the platform. Right now, what people can do is log into their account, and they can see if they participated in our early sales. I can show you the website if you want.
Yeah.
So so this is our lovely homepage. The bakery game, as you see, is coming soon. You'll be able to get your delicious dough, your excellent eggs, your magic milk, right, and your butter to bake your cakes. And then once you get your tarts, you'll be able to get the allocations. Right now, if you participated on our tartier sale, what you'll be able to see is your Genesis tartiers. This is my account. So you can see the tartiers that I own. You can see our collection of NFTs. So we have a token of appreciation for anyone that participated. We have, this is the premium. There's only 10 of this chocolate tart. It was actually the last auction. And so I have one of each, and I have 2 of apple tarts and a lot of pop tarts. And these are the Genesis tart, which we use for promotional purposes, and the team membership or the EOS Starter membership card. So these are all our NFTs. You can see them here, and you can also see them on the Atomic Hub. So this is the marketplace. If you see some stats about the trading on the market, and you go to all time, you can identify this. You see this peak here. This was the lead up. This is our tartier sale, and this peak over here was the auction for this guys, the chocolates, the chocolate tiers. This was us.
Got you. People can currently go and they can actually buy and trade NFTs at the moment, and then talk about like what's the roadmap look like? How soon can projects be listed as available for people to buy into the token pre-sales? What's the view on that?
So we're right now running on two very important product lines in parallel. One is this bakery game and NFT game that is going to build our ecosystem and our loyal community, because they're tracking, they're baking tarts, they're kind of involved in what's happening. And at the same time, we are developing the token sale contract, which is one here on my right. So the token sale contract is something that we've been developing with the help of the community, specifically thanks to Pomelo. Sorry. And that token sale contract is already up and running. It's open source, so anyone can take a look at it, and they can participate on the development of this contract. Once we get the contract audited, because that's our new proposal for Pomelo, we want to have a security audit.
So Hernan, just explain a little bit of, you mentioned open source and you're mentioning Pomelo. Just give us a little description of what that is.
Sure. So open source means that the code is open to the public. Anyone with a GitHub account can log into the GitHub of EOSTARTER, and they can see every line of code that is written into that smart contract, and eventually also the platform. So that is open source. Essentially, if someone would want to launch their own token sale, they could essentially, fork the code and grab that code and launch their own. So that's what it means for doing it open source.
And the benefit to your users is that presumably other developers who are able to read smart contract code, they can validate that the code is honest and that there's no critical bugs, and that it works as it's intended, so that your users of the platform are not going to get rug pulled by EOS Starter, basically, right?
Exactly. And that also means that that contract is available for everyone, not only good developers that, as you said, want to contribute and participate, but also for other smart programmers that may want to try to game that smart contract and try to, find a way to game it or get all the tokens at once, or claim the tokens while not being the project owner account, or, there are a lot of ways that need to be, that's why we need that security audit, because the token contract is going to create token pools, which we're going to hold essentially project tokens in one hand and EOS in the other hand that the people are contributing with. So that token pool is going to essentially be in control of the EOS and the token project contracts. So that's why it's very important that we have secure smart contract.
And so Pomelo is what?
Pomelo is the prime source of funding for public goods on EOS. This has been developed by some of the EOS Nation team, head-speared by Daniel Keys, and it started back then when Yves LaRose was still leading EOS Nation. Part of it thanks to funding from Block One. So that was essentially what Pomelo is the EOS version of what we know as Gitcoin. So basically, people propose public goods for funding. What it means to be a public good, it means needs to be accessible for all, needs to be free of access, and needs to be non-exclusive. So me taking the code of the contract does not prevent anyone else from taking that same code, right? That means it needs to be a public good. So that's why we cannot ask for funding from Pomelo to develop our backend and front end, because that backend and front end, it's part of our for-profit business, which is EOS Starter. that's not a public good. So that's not something I could say to Pomelo, hey, EOS community, come contribute, donate to the EOS Starter platform, because the platform itself is not a public good, whereas the contract, now that it's open source, is a public good.
Got you. All right. So the Pomelo is pomelo.io, isn't it? And that's an opportunity for new investors to go and look at the kind of the puzzle pieces or the components of code that are tied to profit motive projects. So investors can have a look at kind of beneath the hood at how these projects start to get pieced together. And if interested, you can participate and you can donate to projects that you think are aligned with your own interests. It's kind of a crowdfunding platform, let's say. And then you've got a smart contract project that you're participating to help develop through the Pomelo grant system, the donations, and then that's going to be open source. And you are also then using that smart contract in your project, EOS Starter, your platform. Just give I guess to start to bring this in for a landing, what kind of projects might investors, new investors, expect to be available on EOS Starter anytime, like whether it's 1 month or 3 months or 6 months? What kind of projects do you have visibility of that you may include?
So we are not only actively getting submissions for projects that want to launch launch on EOS Starter, but we are also aggressively project hunting, right? Which is going out there and seeing what projects are looking for, a home and a new smart contract platform to building. And we're, going from, hey, we're EOS Starter, come build on EOS, right? Which is a tough sale given the sheer amount of capital that's flowing in other ecosystems, which can be a conversation maybe for another time. But essentially, we are engaging. We just announced our first project partnership with Nice One. So you'll be seeing a lot of gaming and metaverse narrative being launched on EOS Starter. We're working with a project that I cannot mention yet, but it's in the music NFT business side of things. We are working with projects that want to launch also betting games. There are also a project that wants to do their own NFT marketplace. We're also working with some projects that are already up and running in other platforms like Wax and Ultra and Telos, and we want to bring them to deploy their platform on EOS, by doing a launch with us. So that's also something that we're actively looking on. And essentially, my long-term vision is that any EOSIO project will be able to launch at EOS Starter, or even if we rebrand it once we, are all EOSIO encompassing, so that any project in this space can come launch with us, have a very successful token sale, because the community that we're building is, hardcore believer, has a long-term time preference, because they have their NFTs and they're holding on to them, and they want to get an entry into these early stage projects. So DeFi, metaverse, NFT projects, gaming, which is also play to earn and play and earn, gaming, anything from decentralized storage to decentralized energy to any other projects that require a token or an NFT project. That the difference that we in EOS Starter are launching projects that want to build a business, so they have a token to launch. So which is very different than what Pomelo is doing, which is a sort crowdfunding platform for public goods, right? You not only need to do a public good that if you want to get a grant on Pomelo, you cannot do quid pro quo. So we cannot get our community to say, hey, listen, contribute to us and you'll get one of this very nice NFTs that we previously sold at X amount of EOS, because that would be doing quid pro quo, right? We need to go out there and say, hey, listen, please contribute. We're doing something that we consider is very important for our ecosystem.
Super. Let's go just a little bit in terms of your background. Like we mentioned that you're a developer at the beginning. I guess you have to be fairly technical to be able to vet and filter the projects that you're going to allow to participate on the EOS Starter platform. Give us a gist of what does it mean that you're a developer, and how do you approach that kind of a technical analysis? Just a little perspective for people like me who are not developers.
Yeah, so when assessing projects, you also need to be a bit of tech savvy in the development side and understand that process. But also, on the business side, you have to understand that this project is viable and they're building a viable business model. So it has to have the combination of both, right? And that's what we're trying to build on EOS Starter. So we're trying to build a unique team that's qualified to assess both aspects of things. On the development side, it's very important that when I'm looking at a project, that I know that the guys behind the wheel know what they are building, and they're not just riding the latest trend. It's super easy to hijack a brand new metaverse pitch with some very cheap marketplace assets from the Unreal Engine and say, yes, this is our amazing RPG play to earn game. This is the new Axie Infinity and we're launching it. But then you need to really dig into, okay, so how is this mechanistically going to work? How are you building this? What's your team? Do you have a smart contract we can take a look at? Do we have a token in place, a token contract? So it has to be kind of not only the development side, which is a strong team that can deliver on the promise, but also sane tokenomics that makes sense, and have a good incentive mechanism in place that will really create this kind of spiral effect and this, exponential adoption curve that we want to see in a project.
I guess that gives us a small opportunity to segue to Helios. Not super relevant for the new crypto investors, but I can explain. So Helios is an upcoming VC fund where I'm on the team for Helios. Hernan helped to bring that team together in the beginning stages. And Helios is going to be a VC fund deploying very large amounts of capital, millions of dollars, into profit focused projects. That's not something that crypto newbies can make use of, but the relevance is that we are helping to vet and contribute to projects that may well end up being launched on EOS Starter at some point, either before Helios makes an investment or after Helios makes an investment. Those projects may be viable opportunities as a EOS Starter project to launch.
I think it's very relevant, the part that Helios is playing, also to crypto newbies, right? Because one of the questions that we started with, Gav, is, so why EOS, right? Why now? So right, EOS, right. we of the EOS community, we've had a rough ride, and a really rough ride, because we were all building on an initial promise that there was $1 billion worth of capital waiting to be invested into the ecosystem with what was proclaimed as EOS VC, right? And our mistake as a community was to be mostly reliant on Block One to deliver on that promise. And mistake of Block One was to, maybe overstate those wishes or the capabilities of investing $1 billion into the ecosystem, when after the fact there was the projects that did try to raise money from EOS VC were, met with long, non-responsive VC, or I don't know if if there were legal implications that did not allow Block One to directly invest in the ecosystem, or their legal team said, listen, you cannot, invest directly from the capital you raised into this ecosystem because it can be seen this way or another. I don't know what the story was. The bottom line is that we have been starved of capital for the last 4 years. 4 years where projects that have a working, up and running product have 1/1000th of the market cap that the same project or the same category of project is running on Ethereum or Polkadot or other blockchain ecosystems. And now with Helios, we have a renewed promise and a renewed venture capital fund that is focused on this ecosystem. So
Fantastic.
That's super important.
So anything that I haven't asked Hernan to focus for the crypto newbie, any encouragement for the crypto newbie? It's a very complicated space and challenging to get our heads around all of the phrases and the new terminology and the opportunities, and there's so many platforms. Any parting words to round up this conversation?
Yeah, so I'll just going to brush off the typical, it's maybe a bit cliche, but always, do your own research, do not invest more than what you're willing to lose, those typical things. And that is, it's cliche and typical, but it's always worth mentioning. Now, what I will say that it's unique to our interview is that when researching for projects and potential upside in the crypto markets, it is very important to look where no one else is looking, right? If you go and search crypto projects, upcoming launches on YouTube, you will only find launchpads that are launching on Solana and Avalanche and Polygon and Polkadot and the brand new shiny blockchain projects that all the mainstream YouTubers are promoting, right?
And being paid to promote in the majority of cases, yeah.
And there is almost no conversation, and there is almost no EOS projects being promoted as aggressively as those ICOs. So what I want those newbie investors to do, if you want to hedge in the market, follow the developers, not the influencers, because the developers are the ones who are going to build the platforms that reshape our society. Not the influencers, which will always be making cool videos and are maybe easier content to digest. But if you want to hedge in the market, you have to look deep, and you have to search where no one else is looking. No one else, the mainstream is not looking at EOS. It's totally underground. It's totally underwater. It's been kind of forgotten. It's a taboo project that mainstream YouTubers are not mentioning. And I believe that is where the large opportunity of potential upside is in the coming few years.
Awesome. Good. It's difficult. Sometimes it's difficult for us to be able to relate back to the super newbie topics and how to describe everything that we're doing from that perspective to make it as closely relevant as possible. I think we did a good job there for this first conversation, Hernan. Looking forward to coming back and having a more advanced conversation, and hopefully the newbies can quickly follow us along. So it will be relevant for them to go through this interview and the next one and start to layer on their knowledge as things progress for you, for EOS Starter. What are you looking forward to in the next few months in terms of what you're building?
Well, we're super busy on EOStarter, building both the bakery game, the token sale contract, engaging with projects, developing the platform, getting a security audit for the platform. So we're all hands on deck. We're a small team, but we're punching above our weight. So we're very excited on that. And regarding what you said, Gav, I think, because you asked such fundamental questions, and I sometimes have a difficulty speaking on layman terms, and for the broader, newbie market, I think it could be very valuable for us to maybe branch off, kind of a crypto topic review from Helios that is not EOStarter related, which I still am going to promote if I get the opportunity, but that is focused on these topics that crypto newbies could be interested in, and maybe I can help bring those terms into more friendly terms, and then we can have this kind of Helios guide to crypto for complete newbies up to potential partner investors with Helios, which is in all our interest to get more investors joining Helios and making a larger fund for all EOS projects, right?
Yeah, so it's certainly different. This is how the space innovates. Participants are listening to this conversation and they're seeing a new idea emerge between a couple of people having this interview. So yeah, we can look at new content. Maybe that's something that's relevant for Pomelo as a public good, a resource library for crypto investors. Maybe it's something for EOSTARTER to produce in part for a user guide to things that we're starting to touch on in this conversation. Helios is looking for larger investors, limited partners, institutions. So we definitely need to produce our own content guides that explain the EOS IO opportunities, again, which includes EOS, Telos, Wax, Ultra, Proton, etc. And explain that to the institutional investors. So lots of content to come from our collaboration and other people in our community, in the teams. So to crypto newbie investors, watch this space. It should definitely be the message. Come back and check out our other videos, subscribe to our channel here. Check out what's the websites that you want to point people to, Hernan?
So first of all, if you own EOS, and you're not donating to Pomelo, right? Then you're not thinking long-term, right? Every EOS that you put on promising EOS projects that are doing public good for the EOS ecosystem, they're moving the EOS ecosystem forward. So if you're a long-term investor in EOS, drop some EOS into the Pomelo projects that I think are most promising, first of all. If you don't have an EOS account, go to Grayman's website, download the Anchor wallet, get your EOS out of the exchange and start using it for good. Start interacting with it. Understand why EOS is a good technology. Other than that, join us in our Discord at EOStarter. You can find the link on eostarter.org, and of course Helios and the Helios Discord. Tell us what you would like to see us build. Tell us how you would like to be a part of this, right? Join the ecosystem. You would not believe the opportunities that are, oozing in this space, because there is much more capital than talent in the crypto space. So if you have something of value, or you can come in and work with us, promote a project, you have dev skills, you have the business skills, you have marketing skills, you have design skills, anything you can bring to the table, it's going to be highly rewarded, because there's a lot of capital floating around in the crypto space, and it's not being properly allocated. And you can verify that by the market cap of Dogecoin and Shiba Inu and all the meme coins that are oozing with billions of dollars, that, in my view, could be very well used to develop the new foundational layer of our society.
So true. Let's wrap up there. The thought there is that there's so much money, so much capital in the crypto industry, and a lot of the time it's going to the wrong places because newbies don't understand that they are falling victim to rug pulls and just silly ideas that are fads, that are trending short term, but that will only depreciate in value, and they're missing out on good quality early stage opportunities.
Yeah, I don't know if to call them wrong, Gav. You know, the Dogecoin serves its purpose. You know, it's bringing a lot of TikTokers, it's bringing a lot of new people into the space. Once you're in, you know, what we're building on crypto and blockchain, it's really, you know, resetting the mechanisms of governance and control of our society. So in the one hand, you have this radical technology that can help us reorganize as a society, and in the other hand, you have a dog coin. So, you know, it's great, you know, own your meme coins, get in, but once you're in, you know, take a deeper look, get in, you know, get involved. That's all I would say.
Perfect. We'll leave it there. Thank you, Hernan.
Thank you, Gav. Thank you very much.